Let's talk about Berlin. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about Berlin, and I'm going to be sharing my experience with you guys moving/living here. I get a lot of messages on Instagram from people who want to move to Berlin or are thinking about moving to Berlin, so I really wanted to make this video and just kind of talk about my experience, what it's been like, what I like about Berlin, what I dislike, you know, the club scene, dating friends, all of that. As a huge disclaimer up front, because people tend to get kind of like touchy and also offended when it comes to opinions on Berlin, especially when those opinions are from people who didn't grow up here, and I have not grown up here. I've moved to Berlin 4 years ago, and everything that I'm going to be talking about is obviously just all of my opinions, and all of my opinions have been shaped through the lens of my own experiences or, you know, experiences of the people around me. And obviously in or within Berlin there are so many different like bubbles and ways of living, and so everyone's experience is going to be so vastly different from each other. For a little bit of background, for those of you who don't know, I am German. I was born in Hamburg and I lived most of my childhood in Düsseldorf. And then when I was 10 years old, my family moved to Sydney, Australia. We spent 10 years there. Then I moved back to Germany and then moved to Berlin when I was 21. So 4 years ago now, pretty soon. And yeah, that's my background. So anything to do with like visas, being able to stay here, work here, I am not the right person to ask because I have both the German and Australian citizenship. So I am not a great person to ask those questions and will not be answering those in this video. But let's get into some stuff that I can talk about and can answer. First one to get out of the way, apartment hunting. How the hell did I find this apartment? The very simple but also frustrating answer to this question is that I found this apartment through good family friends. It had just been renovated and wasn't on the market yet, and that was right around the time that I was looking or starting to look for places in Berlin. A friend said, you have to come to Berlin tomorrow and look at it, you know, there's such a high demand, otherwise it's gonna go on the market tomorrow and it'll be gone like that. So I jumped on a train, came to Berlin, and the moment I stepped into this apartment, I just knew that I wanted to live here. It was definitely a little bit over my budget, and living here now with my boyfriend for two people makes a lot more sense. That gets me to the next point. Rent has gotten very expensive in Berlin. Most people I know end up getting their apartments through some kind of connection, through some friend who posted or reposted another friend's Instagram story of them, you know, moving out of their apartment soon. It's always like those kind of ways that people tend to find their places. The issue is just that so many people want to move to/live in Berlin. There's such a high demand that the prices just keep going up, and there seems to always be someone who's willing to pay you know, those prices. Do not be super discouraged by this. I always feel like if you really want something, there's always some kind of way, and if you stay on it, you will find something eventually. I feel like everyone finds something eventually, but it's important to know up front that you are not gonna find a place probably within a few weeks. So if you're planning on, you know, coming here and you're thinking, oh, I'm just gonna spend a couple of weeks at a hostel and then find a place, kind of unrealistic. A lot of it happens through word of mouth as well. So if you're someone who is, you know, maybe visiting Berlin right now and you're planning to move here in the future, you should be telling every single person that you meet that you are looking for an apartment, when and where. And trust me, you won't be the first person to do this, so you shouldn't be worried about being annoying. Just tell every single one you know, or every single person you meet, that you're looking for a place. Okay, let's talk about my favorite things in Berlin. Let's talk about the appeal. Someone asked me, was like, what's the appeal? Like, I find Berlin so depressing when I go there. And I get that. I have to say, the first couple of times that I visited Berlin, I didn't really get it either. I was like, why would you want to live here? And then when I visited my other friend and stayed with her for like a week, something kind of clicked for me, and I just felt this like incredible sense of opportunity and freedom, which sounds so cliche, and my favorite thing about Berlin is the most cliche thing as well, which is just being able to like express yourself freely and discover who you are and who you want to be without so many people judging you. I just think Berlin is a really great place to experiment and figure out what you want and what you don't want, and it's almost this like huge, I don't want to say safe space, because again, you still have to look out for yourself in many ways, but I feel like in general the vibe is not as judgy as it is in other cities, because Berlin is also not as performance and money driven as other big cities like London or New York, for example. I think are way more like performance and finance oriented, which obviously you have that bubble in Berlin as well, and you can have those opportunities if you're looking for them. But I find that overall people are just a bit more like free and more chilled, and not everyone's super into like making lots of money and having to like do lots of things all the time. Like people don't care that much about what you do for work here. It's just a bit more like a fun town, kind of. It's not this like let's all make lots of money and get super successful. There's like not that much of that pressure here. Also, there's just so many different things to do, especially in the summertime. Berlin just feels like a giant festival, and that sounds so cliche as well, but that's what it feels like to me, like compared to living in other cities before. There's just so many different things to do. People like go crazy in the summer. Everyone's in such a good mood. Everyone wants to go out all the time and do different things. There's so many different like workout things and classes you can do and things you can try. There's a million restaurants, and it feels like there's like 50 more opening up. Yeah, you just have everything and like so much of it, which is so much fun. Getting to downsides of Berlin, or my least favorite things, I would definitely say that winter in Berlin, I know everyone says this, but winter gets pretty rough. We have one of the darkest, wettest, greyest, coldest winters just ever, and the city gets so ugly. There's just no other way to say it. It gets so ugly. I mean, when it snows, it can be kind of beautiful. Like sometimes we have those lucky days where it snows and then there's blue sky, and I mean that's just amazing, but that's like a tiny part of winter if you're lucky. Sometimes it doesn't snow at all. I know a lot of people who leave over winter and spend the winter in warmer places, but obviously not everyone can do that, and I haven't done that the past 4 years. I have a really good routine. I exercise quite a bit. I eat pretty healthy, and I just like fill my time even in winter with little rituals that make me feel good. You know, I like going to the spa, to the sauna, hanging out with good friends. I have good people around me. I think that's a major part. Obviously now also the past 2 years I've been in a really good relationship, and that's a big part as well. Just like having someone to cuddle in winter makes such a difference. So I guess what I'm trying to say is winter is my least favorite thing about Berlin, but it's still fine, and you know, you can still have a good time. I feel like everything leading up to New Year's is actually a lot of fun. At least for me, I love November because it's my birthday. December's fun because it's like pre-Christmas season. But then January, February, March is the worst. Like there's just no other way to say it. It's the absolute worst, and it gets so ugly and depressing. And yeah, that's just the reality of things, and that's the downside. Berlin can also be pretty dirty and, like I said before, kind of ugly. Like there's so many beautiful parts to Berlin, but there's also a lot of parts that are just not that pretty, and I'm okay with that, and I think that's cool. But it's not for everyone, and yeah, it's kind of dirty, but I think a lot of big cities are. Paris is filthy and I still love it, but yeah, something to be aware of. Something that's another kind of downside for me, which is also one of my favorite things that I said before, is that there is so much going on and so much to do, which can sometimes lead to feeling overwhelmed and feeling like you're always missing out on something, because there's like 10 different things that you could go to or do every single day, and there's always someone who wants to go out drinking or go out partying, and it's really important to know how to say no in Berlin. Yeah, because there's always 1,000 things to do, 1,000,000 things to do, and 1,000,000 people to do them with, and that can get kind of exhausting, and the city can be a lot. That's probably part of the reason why I don't see myself in Berlin forever. That's also something a lot of people asked. I feel like Berlin right now is perfect for my 20s, and I think I moved here just at the right time, because I do believe that it's great to move to Berlin if you are like a little bit settled in who you are already. I think moving to Berlin at like 18 when you're just out of school can be kind of dangerous, and I know a couple of people who did that, and they were here for like 3 months and then they went home because they just like couldn't handle it anymore. And obviously that's not everyone, and a lot of people do move here at 18 and they do great, but I think that for me, I'm glad that I moved here at 21 when I was already making a bit of money as well, and like kind of knew what I wanted. And obviously things have changed so much since then, but I feel like at 18 the city would have like swallowed me whole. I see myself here for a bit longer. Again, I think 20s are perfect, but I don't know if I'm gonna be here in my 30s. I kind of don't think so. I got a bunch of questions about finding friends in Berlin, making friends, meeting people, and what that was like for me. And I can honestly say that when I moved here, I knew like 2 or like 3 people living here. One of them's like the older brother of a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in years. One of them I went to school with, but also now haven't talked to in years. And then one of them is still a good friend of mine to this day, but we also weren't close back then when I moved to Berlin. But I was lucky enough to have that one person who's still my friend to this day, and she kind of took me in. I actually came to visit her before I moved to Berlin when I looked at the apartment, and I stayed with her for 2 days, and I met some of her friends, and she kind of like showed me around a little bit and took me around, and that definitely helped. But I have to say that most of my friends I met through social media, which again, I'm in a special position of, you know, being an influencer and whatnot, but I remember posting on my story being like, hey, I'm moving to Berlin, who wants to go and grab coffee, because I don't know anyone. Obviously, I wasn't going to uni or wasn't doing a regular job, because I feel like those are the like normal ways of meeting people. Like that's how most people make friends, but I didn't have that. So I remember just posting on my story, and then I met up with a couple of girls, and then I found that as soon as you know like 2 or 3 people that you really get along with, and then those people like take you out to places and take you to meet their friends, it just happens really quickly that it like expands. Like your network, you'll find, will expand really quickly, because I think in general people here are really open, and because it's such an international city and there's so many people that like come here and then leave again after a few years, and there's so many people from like different backgrounds, everyone's just super open, I've found, and is also really interested in hearing like why you've come to Berlin and what you want to do here, and is generally pretty happy to welcome you. Again, my experience, and obviously there's also a lot of assholes here, but that's like any city. But I've heard from other cities or, you know, other countries that people can be kind of closed off, and it can be hard to get into, you know, friendship groups and become a part of a group or become really good friends with people. And I have not found that to be the case here at all. Obviously Berlin is a huge city and it can be quite anonymous, but I found that it's a great city to meet new people and to make friends. It's almost like you have to be a bit more careful who you let really close to you, because everyone's super open and like interested in meeting you, and then there are some people who might not have the best intentions, and it's almost more that that's the issue I've found, to like pick out those people who are really interested in genuine friendships and those who want something from you, or, you know, just want to party but then aren't actually going to be there for you, you know, when you need them. So I would say trust your instincts and pick those people that you know, feel good with and feel a connection with. Put effort into hanging out with them and building that connection, and the rest will follow. A lot of people ask me about dating and if it's hard to find a relationship in Berlin. And I would say it's not impossible. I found a really great relationship in Berlin, and I know people who are in good, healthy relationships here as well. But I do have to say that, you know, Berlin is such a free-spirited city and there's so much going on, and a lot of people here live in this mindset of, I need to be free to like experience everything, and I can't be tied down, and maybe something better is going to come along. I do feel like a lot of people who live here have that mindset, especially in their 20s, which there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like there's a lot of people who just aren't ready for long-term commitment in their 20s, and that's totally fine. But it's something to know when moving here. There's a lot of people who are into, you know, poly relationships or open relationships, and I think it's really important in Berlin to know your boundaries, I guess, and be firm with them and be really open with people about what you want and what you expect. In terms of dating, I think it can definitely be a lot of fun here because there's so many people who are so open to all kinds of experiences, and it's a great city to experiment and just kind of do what you feel, follow your heart or something, another part of your body, and just like do what you want to do for a while. It's a great place to do that. Make sure that you follow your gut feeling, because again, not everyone has the best intentions, and you should always be safe and look out for yourself because again, it's a huge city and there are a lot of weirdos here as well. Okay, let's talk about clubbing. I got so many questions on clubbing. What is it really like, you know, compared to other cities? And all that, and I have to say it's a lot of fun. There's definitely something for everyone. There's so many different clubs, and something that's really different to living in Sydney, which is where I would, you know, go out partying beforehand, is everything starts way later. Like, you will not go out to most clubs before 1 a.m. So everything starts way later, goes way later. You can pretty much go clubbing here every day, I would say. Monday, Tuesday, there's not that much going on, but you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you can have the time of your life all day. You know, there are clubs that open up on Friday and they stay open till Sunday, sometimes longer if it's longer events, and you can be there those full 3 days and they will not kick you out in between, so you can just stay there as long as you want. I think with clubs it's important to just like try out different things and find what you like. Don't feel like you have to like a certain club or dislike a certain club just because other people do. I think really find what makes you feel good, and don't let anyone tell you that this club is lame or that club's so amazing. Make your own experiences and decide for yourself. You don't have to be like a hardcore techno fiend in order to have fun here. I wasn't into techno at all when I moved to Berlin, and I became a techno fan, but I'm still not like hardcore into it. And you know, there's hip-hop clubs that you can go to, which I generally don't because I don't really love the scene there. But if you're really into hip-hop, there are a bunch of hip-hop clubs, and there's also clubs that play more like housey, soft techno music. And in general, with almost all clubs, there's, you know, different events and different DJs playing. I think when it comes to like the techno scene, girls and gays have the highest chance of getting into clubs. And then with straight men, it really kind of depends on your vibe, and also if you're with girls or not, and who you're with and all that. And I think with most clubs, they just wanna like suss out if you match the vibe inside, and they want to know that you are going to be able to handle everything that's going on inside, and that you're not going to like film anyone or judge anyone, because at the end of the day, they want clubs to be a safe space for people and a space for people to party and have fun without being recorded, without being judged, without being attacked by someone. I do still think that there are a lot of bouncers in Berlin who are quite racist, and I don't think, that's just a fact to me, and there are some places that will not let you in if you don't speak any German. But this does not apply to all clubs. There's a lot of great clubs that are more open and more welcoming, but I'm just saying there are a bunch of clubs that have racist bouncers and that have quite like pretentious eras as well of, you can't get in here if you're not a certain way type of thing. Oh, what I forgot to say beforehand, everything starts super late here, but there are also day raves, which are really fun. My personal favorite. I love getting drunk and partying during the day. I don't know why. just hits different, and your hangover isn't as bad because you get more sleep most times. If you're gonna go out here, be prepared to see a lot of people doing drugs. Not everyone, and you don't have to, but most people here do or take some kind of drugs when they're partying or when they're not partying, depending on their situation, and that's just the way it is. It's pretty widely accepted, and you will come in contact with or will be seeing that when you're going out, so something to consider if you're not used to that. It's just the way it is here. Not just techno clubs, all kind of clubs, so it's not just applied to techno. Something that I have to say about clubbing here is that when I go out to techno clubs, I always feel super safe, and I have never been like touched in a weird way or like assaulted or anything at a techno club or felt uncomfortable by anyone. Everyone is super respectful. Yes, a lot of people are on another planet, but I feel like everyone gives each other the space to do what they want and be who they want, and I found it to be quite lovely actually. Best things to do if you're not into clubbing or not into drinking or drugs, someone asked me, literally anything else. I know Berlin is really known for the clubbing scene and for the partying, but there's so much other stuff to do here, and there are a lot of people who don't go clubbing at all, who aren't in the techno scene, who don't drink, who don't do drugs, and I feel like Berlin gets this rep of like being this huge party city and everyone's partying all the time, and maybe I made it sound like that as well, but you can find your people who aren't into that stuff either, and you can do all kinds of exercises here, different classes, learn different things, languages, creative stuff, cooking classes. There's everything, and there's so many things other than clubbing to do here, and you don't have to be into clubbing to live in Berlin or to have fun in Berlin. I haven't been to a big club in like 6 months, I think, because I'm just not in my clubbing phase right now. I'm in my bars and drinking at home with friends phase right now, and then sometimes dancing at like dance bars, but proper club I haven't been in like half a year, and trust me, there's a lot of other stuff to do. And then lastly, a lot of people were asking what it's like living here, moving here if you don't speak any German. Obviously I do speak German, so I'm not the best person to ask this, but I can tell you that most people here speak very good English, are willing to speak English, and you can definitely get work here if you don't speak German. There's a lot of places, especially like cafes and restaurants, where you know, there's a lot of people working there, waiters or people at the bar, who will speak English to you, and everyone's kind of fine with that. I think it's definitely appreciated if you try to pick up some German or learn some kind of German, but yeah, most people will speak English, and there's a lot of people living here that don't speak German, and I don't think it's a huge issue. My camera died. So yeah, don't think you have to be fluent in German to live here or move here, because that's definitely not the case. Okay, that's everything I'm going to talk about in today's video, because I have been recording for over half an hour. There's probably so much more that I could be talking about, and yeah, I hope this was somewhat helpful or interesting. Again, just my experience. I'm really happy to be living here right now, and I'm so grateful to be experiencing everything this city has to offer. But yeah, don't think I will be staying here forever just because it is so intense. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!